You stand in front of a refrigerator. Two options: chicken or pasta. Nothing is at stake. No deadline. No audience. And yet you stand there. 90 seconds pass. Then 2 minutes. Your hand reaches for the handle, then retreats. Somewhere in your skull, a decision that should take less time than tying your shoes has stalled completely. This isn't indecision. This is your brain running an ancient survival program in a world that no longer needs it. In 2000, psychologist Sheena Iyengar, then at Columbia University, set up a tasting booth in an upscale grocery store. Some shoppers saw 6 jam flavors. Others saw 24. The larger display drew more browsers. But only 3% of those shoppers bought a jar. The smaller display converted at nearly 10 times that rate. More options didn't produce more satisfaction. They produced paralysis. This became known as the paradox of choice, a term later popularized by psychologist Barry Schwartz at Swarthmore College. His research found that as options increase, so does regret, anxiety, and the fear of choosing wrong, even when every option is objectively fine. Here is the reframe. Your brain was never built to evaluate infinite possibility. For roughly 300,000 years, Homo sapiens made decisions inside tight constraints. Eat this or that. Go here or there. Small choice sets, high stakes, fast resolution. Now you face a refrigerator with 14 items, a phone with 2 million apps, a dating pool of thousands of profiles. Your prefrontal cortex, the region responsible for weighing options, was not upgraded for this volume. It still runs on Pleistocene hardware. Neuroscientist Angelika Dimoka, running fMRI studies at Temple University in 2010, found something specific happens when choice complexity rises. Activity in the dorsolateral prefrontal cortex, the brain's decision-weighing center, increases with more options up to a point. Then it collapses. The brain doesn't just struggle. It disengages. Faced with too much to evaluate, it shuts the evaluation process down entirely and default behavior takes over. Avoidance. Procrastination. Standing at the fridge. This is why overthinking doesn't feel like decisiveness under difficulty. It feels like your mind sliding away from the problem while your body stays frozen in place. The deeper mechanism here has a name: ego depletion, first proposed by psychologist Roy Baumeister at Case Western Reserve University in 1998. Baumeister's experiments showed that decision-making draws from a finite cognitive resource, the same resource used for self-control and willpower. Every choice you make, no matter how trivial, spends from that same account. By the time you reach the refrigerator at 7 p.m., you have already made hundreds of micro-decisions. What to wear? Which email to answer first? Whether to take the call? The chicken or pasta decision isn't happening in isolation. It's happening on a depleted system, one that has been paying out all day and has nothing left to spend on something that, biologically, shouldn't cost anything at all. Judges in Israel, studied by psychologist Shai Danziger at Ben-Gurion University in 2011, granted parole in roughly 65% of cases at the start of a session. By the end of that same session, before a food break, approval rates dropped close to zero. Nothing about the prisoners changed. Only the judge's depleted decision-making capacity did. If trained legal experts can be measurably worn down by the accumulation of choice, an exhausted mind standing before a refrigerator doesn't stand a chance. This is the second layer of the mechanism. Depletion doesn't just slow decisions. It distorts them. A tired brain doesn't evaluate chicken versus pasta on its merits. It defaults to the path requiring the least cognitive expenditure, which is often no path at all. Freezing becomes the energetically cheapest option. Even though standing still burns time, you could have saved by choosing either meal at random. There's a third mechanism working underneath both of these, and it's older than language itself: loss aversion. In 1979, psychologists Daniel Kahneman and Amos Tversky, working out of Hebrew University of Jerusalem, published prospect theory. Their experiments demonstrated that the pain of losing something is felt roughly twice as intensely as the pleasure of gaining something equivalent. Applied to the refrigerator, this means choosing chicken isn't just choosing chicken. It's simultaneously losing pasta. Your brain registers that loss, however microscopic, with the same circuitry that once weighed survival trade-offs on the savannah. This water source, or that one, this shelter, or that one, decisions where the wrong call meant death. The stakes have changed completely. The circuitry hasn't caught up. Overthinking, then, isn't a character flaw or a modern weakness. It's a mismatch, a survival mechanism calibrated for scarcity, now running in an environment engineered for abundance. Your brain treats a menu, a streaming queue, a grocery aisle, with the same threat assessment machinery it once used to evaluate predators. It cannot tell the difference between a decision that matters and a decision that doesn't, because for most of human history, there wasn't much difference. Nearly every choice carried weight. Researchers studying decision fatigue, including work compiled by psychologist Jean Twenge in the early 2000s, found a related pattern. As the number of decisions a person makes in a day rises, the quality of each subsequent decision falls, and the likelihood of avoiding the decision altogether rises with it. This is measurable. It shows up in judges, in shoppers, in surgeons scheduling procedures later in the day. The mind doesn't run out of intelligence. It runs out of a resource intelligence depends on. Stand at the refrigerator long enough, and the freeze itself becomes the data. Not evidence that the decision is hard. Evidence that a 300,000-year-old system is doing exactly what it was built to do. Treating an act of survival with the gravity survival once required, in a world where nothing you choose tonight will determine whether you live to see tomorrow. The tragedy isn't that you overthink dinner. The tragedy is that the machinery inside your skull cannot yet tell the difference between a decision that could end your life and one that will be forgotten by morning. It is still, in some deep and ancient chamber, keeping watch for a danger that left the room a long time ago.